morning. My name is Cory Belyk. I'm Executive Vice President and CEO of CanAlaska Uranium. Our focus is really the Athabasca Basin in the uranium space. We also have nickel projects in the neighboring province of Manitoba and some copper assets in British Columbia of Canada. We are a project generator, a hybrid model, really, where we generate a lot of projects and we move the ones that we feel have the most value for our shareholders forward with our shareholder money. And we've been very busy in 2021, really advancing some of these core assets of ours and looking for new opportunities for our shareholders, whether that comes through in terms of project generation, new deals, or even getting out there and doing it ourselves. So that's CanAlaska Uranium. We're happy to be here today, and we're loving 2021 and we're looking forward to 2022.
Good man, Cory. Good to speak to you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Matthew. It's a long weekend here.
We didn't think this through, did we? We should have done this tomorrow. So apologies, and thank you very much for showing up today. I appreciate that. Hey, look, we saw you back in April. We kind of ran through the story. It's our first conversation back then. I think you're relatively new as well. New CEO, not so new anymore. Might be worth just running through a few things, because as project generators seem to have lots of different variables on the move at any one time, right? So we've got nickel, we've got copper, we've got uranium, we've got diamonds. So there's a lot of commodities too. Can you just give us in priority order, what are you spending the most time on? Because you've got a couple of JV partners out there too, which I want to talk about. But in terms of the projects, where you're spending time, money, and effort, priority order?
So we've been spending most of our effort in the uranium space in 2021. We've been focused on delivering on our exploration at Waterbury South project, really close to Cigar Lake. We moved into doing a little bit of diamond prospecting, our diamond projects in Saskatchewan, but really importantly, we moved into that phase in the summer of West McArthur and continuing to build on the 42 zone story, that discovery that we've had in the last number of years. In addition to that, and that program's ongoing, in addition to that, we've had our Moon Lake South joint venture, a brand new joint venture with Denison Mines, just a few kilometers from their Griffin deposit, their Phoenix deposit on the Wheeler River project. So they're currently drilling that as well for us. So we've got 2 uranium projects on the go, drilling programs as we speak. And then we're going to roll that right into 2022 in the nickel and uranium space. And I say nickel because we do have some focus in the nickel space in Thompson, Manitoba. We're moving those projects forward with D block discoveries as they look to list and eventually get drilling in about Q1 of 2022. Perfect. So really exciting summer here, fall, and moving into next year.
For sure. Uranium been a funny year, great year of late, with Sput moving into the ecosystem and playing a lot of money in. You guys saw a little pump in the price there, along with everyone else, and I think it's come off a bit here. Can you tell us about the JV partners? How much are they spending on advancing those projects?
So the only active joint venture we have today is the Moon Lake South joint venture, Denison, where we're drilling that program. Our contribution there is about $150,000, $160,000 for 25%.
Got it.
We're a 25% co-funding partner in that project, and Denison's leading the charge on that. So they're following up historical mineralization there, which is pretty exciting for us.
So, but what have they done this year in terms of, since I last saw you in April? What's new?
Well, actually, the joint venture itself is brand new. Okay, that was signed in the summer, and now we've moved into very quickly our first drill program on that project as a partnership. So again, they're following up historical results, past mineralization on this trend, which is part of the overall Griffin trend on the Wheeler River projects. It's pretty exciting.
So what did you hand? Why did they come in? What did you hand it over to them to make them think, oh, do you know what? These project generators have got it right here.
Yeah. So that's a project that we've had in our portfolio for a while. A number of years ago, Denison wanted to earn into that project. So standard option for us. We allowed them into the project. They spent some money, developed the targets, earned that 75%, and then we formed that joint venture. So this is the first joint venture drilling program together as we attempt to build on the past successes through their option arrangement prior.
Right. So what does that look like? What are they obliged to spend now and in the future, depending on, I guess, certain targets being hit?
Yeah, it depends on results. They're drilling right now 4 really high quality targets along a 4 or 5 kilometer trend. Your typical Athabasca targets, you're seeing alteration in the sandstone in the basement. Following up on mineralization, it was actually a hole, I think, from their earn-in period just part of my time with CanAlaska, they actually drilled some mineralization just above the unconformity. So they're testing along that corridor. There's no other drill holes along it. So we're really excited about potentially expanding on that mineralization. And that obviously ties into everything that they're trying to do at Wheeler River as well.
And what, again, with the conversations that are going on there, what's their expectation? Because they done drilling, in or around the property, near the property? Is that expectation to find something that is on trend with whatever they've previously discovered? Correct,
Matthew. And I think that's what drew them partially into Moon Lake initially, is because to the south and to the north, they obviously have mineralization as well. So, Griffin is just a few kilometers to the northeast. And they do have, I forget the name of the property, just to the southwest. So Denison surrounds this project. They knew what was going on around it, and they wanted to be a part of it. So they did. They earned into it, and now we're moving forward together. We liked what we saw from their results through the earn-in stage, that we're now co-funding with them at 25% interest. So pretty exciting about what could come out of that project.
Right. So coming back to the question about how much money are they going to spend at each of the stages, I get, depending on what they find. But right now, what are they obliged to spend?
Sorry. So again, we're funding $150,000. So 3 times that would be their share. Okay. So you're looking at about $450,000 their share. So you're looking at about $600,000 plus or minus total.
Right.
Now results will drive the next phase of investment. So they're due to put in a project budget to us late this year. And we'll see what their intentions are. It's probably going to be driven by results right now. Again, they're not even done drilling that project yet. We're right in the middle of that.
Right. So that's an all-in number. I guess what I'm trying to work out is what's the drill? Is that the drilling number? We're going to spend $600,000 on the drill program, or is that above ground stuff as well? I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. Sorry, not being clear. Drilling. Wow. Okay. So that's useful.
So there's a component in there of administration. There's a component in there of camp, but they're utilizing their Wheeler River facilities to execute this program. So there's a lot of value there for us. Yes, we'll pay our share, but it's really, really logistically very simple for us. So it's a lot of value for the drill money.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. And when's that finished? This drill season lasts when? When can we start seeing numbers?
Yeah, we should finish that program probably in a week to 10 days if things go well. We'll get a feel for results. We are already having a feel for results, but in terms of reporting, a number of weeks after that. Of course, the chemistry samples will be in the lab for a number of weeks, but we'll certainly put out a release on prelim results ahead of the chemistry.
Right.
Probably the next couple of weeks.
Right. So to kind of drag this out. I'm kind of excited about the uranium space because people are hunting for, the next decent size asset. Denison have got a stack of stuff. They obviously did that deal with OURD and UEX and picked up, a few more properties in the Athabasca. And I want to, if they're going to give you the love and attention that you hope they are, or because they've got so much else going on, or that, will they just park this up for a while? So, because there's a real value to if they keep putting the dollars in the ground. So that I guess that's the feel I'm trying to get from you, a sense I'm trying to get from you.
Well, let me just say, so far in this joint venture, Denison has been a great partner. I mean, fantastic partner, a lot of good conversation. We know the team very well, the team that's leading it in Saskatoon, the Saskatoon office. They've been nothing but a brilliant joint venture partner. So kudos to them in that sense. What their intentions are moving forward, that's going to be driven by, I think, results. It has to fit within their portfolio, like it always does, even ours. It has to fit within the portfolio and the timing. But, if the results are coming, I have confidence that Denison will want to move that forward because it really is a piece to the Wheeler River puzzle. It's right there. And I think that is really what makes Moon Lake so special in terms of Denison's portfolio, but also CanAlaska's portfolio. So I think it's going to get the attention if the results start to come.
Right. Okay. So that helps because it gives us a sense of how they would prioritize this. If they can build that picture of it being part of the Wheeler River district, as it were, it's meaningful for them. And that's meaningful for you and meaningful for your shareholders. Right. That's where I kind of wanted to go. So we'd get a sense of that this side of Christmas as to, whether they move into the next phase and how much they're going to allocate at some point.
I would anticipate the results will drive that conversation. And if they're positive, I would anticipate that they'll want to do something in 2022.
Right. Yes. And if you've got $6 million or so of cash, you would be hopefully allocating some of that towards your portion of that project going forward. Okay.
Yeah, if the results, again, Matthew, if the results are there, absolutely willing to co-fund as part of the JV. Absolutely.
Right. But you're not under any pressure to go and raise some capital to
we are
advance
not.
that project. Cool.
We have $6 million in the bank. We wouldn't anticipate what they would plan to stress us in any way, shape, or form. And if it does, then we've obviously got an asset around which to go seek the funding. So.
Right. So you've also talked about recently Waterbury, which is a new discovery, right?
Yes.
And you previously had like West McArthur, which was, I thought it was a Cameco JV. What's happening there?
So West McArthur is actually, we're drilling that right now. We've been drilling that since mid-August.
We being you or we being with partner?
CanAlaska is drilling that project right now. We're about a 75% owner in it. Cameco is our joint venture partner. We're sole funding this year's exploration. Cameco is still, not releasing its, funding, which is fine. But we're moving that forward because we believe in the project. And more importantly, the project has shown signs of advancing beyond what we've known in the last number of years. And I say that because if you recall, we created that exploration space for about 3 kilometers away from the 42 zone. We're testing that now. That's where the drill is as we speak. We're into the last, say, third of that program. We've got 2 holes left at this stage anyway, 2 holes left. And, it's really been very successful so far in testing that structure, that hypothesis, if you want to say it that way, that now we're getting to the ideal target at the unconformity where this mineralization, whether it's Fox Lake, 42 zone, or cigar type analog, occurs. And that's pretty exciting to us because part of the game here is to trace where that structure is at the ideal target. And that's the hard part. And we believe we're getting there. And if you look back at our release a number of weeks ago, it's basically what we're saying. We're vectoring into this thing and we're getting really excited about the hole we're on right now. We're also excited that as part of this program, we've drilled another high-grade intersection 32 meters away from the last high-grade intersection at 8% uranium. We've been successful there. So, we're expanding 42 zone. We're also expanding the targets along to the southwest away from 42 zone, which is a good thing because these all form as multiple pods along, 1 or 2 kilometers of strike length. So we're really excited about where this program is going. The new team is very excited about what they're seeing and the potential for discovery. Further discovery at West McArthur.
Okay, so it's exciting for a project generator, right? But it's not exciting for a Cameco. They've stepped out because they've got other fish to fry and they got their own problems. What does that mean? You advancing this project yourself, what does that mean for that relationship? Are you now free to talk to other people? As a prospect generator, you want JV partners to come in and co-fund or fund projects for you. So what optionality have you been left with, given that Cameco stepped away?
I want to just back up. Cameco has not stepped out of this project.
Well, they haven't given you any money.
Earned their percentage. Their budgetary constraint is not allowing them to service, if you want to call it, service their entire portfolio in the Athabasca Basin.
So they haven't lost anything. They haven't lost anything. You're allowed to carry on.
They've retained their joint venture rights. Okay,
right.
So yes, they're allowed to dilute, but they do retain joint venture rights. So they still have their toes in the water. We just had a joint venture meeting at site with them.
Right.
So they really like what they're seeing in the basement. I know it's a bit forward thinking here, but I just want to convey to you that they have not stepped out. They're a very active partner with us. We have a lot of meetings through the year. They do site visits. We talk about the core. We talk about what we see. We talk about the future of the project. As essentially a co-funding JV. Yes, they're not funding today. That could change next year. We don't know. And again, that's results driven. They have to weigh it within their entire portfolio of where it sits. And remember, they've got land against hurricane. They've got land against some other key projects through the basin that are all under assessment requirements. They simply can't afford everything they want to do. So they're still there with us.
Well, sure, but why is that good? Why is that good for you? Because they're sitting there gathering all the data, which you're paying for now, and they're saying, "No, we're still friends. We'll sit in the room and listen to what you're doing," because it gives us an option of making some sort of decision later date. But at some point when you go, "Hey guys, what about chipping in here?" and they're still saying, "No, not yet. We've got other things." Have you got the option to bring in other people? I guess that's what your shareholders will want to know.
We absolutely do. Matthew. We have the option in the joint venture agreement to bring in other parties. We have the option in the joint venture agreement to actually spin this into a new entity if we so choose. So we have a lot of different avenues here, depending on the market, depending on the outside influences or parties that might want to come in. And we own 75%. We don't have to hold that 75%. We can share some of that to move it to the next stage of understanding or discovery and maybe, development of the exploration methodology there or discovery. So we're really excited about that because we do have a lot of different avenues, and West McArthur continues to deliver for us. And that's why we've stuck with it, because we continue to see all of the right indications of one of these large tier 1 systems like Cigar and McArthur, which is why we're willing to invest our shareholders' money into the project to continue to make those discoveries, expand that discovery, and ultimately earn more interest through dilution that's allowed in the joint venture. So it's good for us, we believe. It's
good that you kept the optionality. And I just wanted to be clear. I want you to be clear about that, because otherwise, you could find yourself in a difficult position further down the line, right? That's all I was kind of getting at. So I think that's great as a project generator. That's your job. Build value, get people interested in this thing, get them to put their hands in their pockets and help you move the projects forward. So you've got that option. That's cool. Can we go on to nickel? Uranium, fantastic market. We love it. We think it's going up, and hopefully split list on the NYSE. That'll do us all a favor.
Matthew, before we move on, Waterbury South. I
mentioned it, but you didn't talk about it. What are you doing there? Sorry.
I can't leave that off the table. Okay, Waterbury South. We got the results after we last talked. Okay, we drilled an incredible alteration system at Waterbury South with our very last hole. It's always the last hole. It's remarkable, but it was the last hole. And we drilled 2.5% nickel. We drilled 2.5% arsenic. We drilled cobalt mineralization all together at that unconformity with 400 ppm uranium. Now, 400 ppm, people go, Guess what? Half the deposits in the Athabasca Basin are polymetallic like this. They have the nickel and the arsenic. Okay, think of Key Lake. It averaged 2.5% nickel over its mine life. It was mined for uranium. These deposits are zoned. These polymetallic deposits are zoned. And, when I sit down with my team, my new team, which we'll talk about in a minute, I'm sure, we get excited because we can't think of any other analogs in the Athabasca Basin at the unconformity where you're drilling 2.5% nickel and it doesn't come along with some substantial uranium. Okay, we're zoned. We're perhaps on the fringes of what could be one of these Cigar Lake events. Again, Cigar Lake loaded with nickel and arsenic. Key Lake, Midwest deposit. Half these big deposits in the basin are polymetallic. We're really excited that we're on the fringe of something special. We've got big alteration happening in the sandstone, but also in the basement. 150 meters of alteration in the faults in the basement. So Waterbury South is really, shaping up to be a big chunk of CanAlaska's portfolio moving forward.
Okay, so what polymetallics is a question of, I guess, depending what price the various commodities are, is what you're going to focus on. So when people talk about 2.5% nickel, headline-wise, it's exciting. But the reality is, you're saying in Athabasca, I guess, unlike Olympic Dam, it's the byproduct of uranium, right?
It absolutely is. When you get into a major hydrothermal event, uranium mineralizing event that contains nickel and arsenic, these are the types of grades of the polymetallic minerals like nickel and arsenic and cobalt that you see with a Cigar, with a Midwest lake, with a Key Lake ore body, 150 million pounds. This is what you see. We can't think of an example in the basin where you get this level of nickel mineralization in the absence of uranium. We can't think of it. We don't know of an analog. So we believe we're on the fringe of something really special at Waterbury South.
Okay. I guess, how much money's gone into that so far in terms of drilling?
We spent about $600,000 this winter.
Right. Okay. Are you going to up the ante there? First 3 holes, right? Are you going to up the ante there?
Yes. We want to, it's part of a deal we were working on with Terra Uranium. So we want to get another 1.5 million into that project. We believe that's sort of the next level of understanding or drilling that will get us to the understanding of what this zone could be and how special it is. So, we can do that with our money. or we can use someone else's to carry the exploration risk and get that next level of investment. And that's the path we've chosen right now with Terra.
How do you guys, as you get more and more of these deals under your belt, how do you stop giving away big chunks of the company? 75-25 standard issue, right? So how do you retain more of the upside? Because you're going to find it at some point. You're going to find it if the assets come true and your JV partners are. You're going to find it a bit easier to go and raise a bit of capital. I know you're in 50 million market cap today, and you're moving sideways most of this year. You've got to try and work out, the projects that you want to hang on to a little bit more. So how do you do that?
So it's a balancing act, right? So we try and take our core assets and retain as much as we can of those for us and our shareholders. Waterbury South is no different. The other non-core assets, right? The ones where you're going to have to spend and raise money and dilute and all that stuff. We get those into other parties funding them to help move them forward and retain enough for our shareholders that on discovery, if it's there, we see that upside. And that could be royalties, that could be retained interest, that could be all sorts of different things, payments, whatever it might be. In the case of Waterbury South, what's really interesting is the deal that we've done only sees a path to 20%. There's no future path to majority. We retain at the end of that 1.5 million, control the project, 80% of it. We control the destiny of it. So if it's really good, if we do get into Cigar Lake type mineralization or Key Lake type mineralization, we know that we're going to control 80% of that. So it's about how do you get the next knowledge? You can dilute shareholders or you can bring in another party that's willing to do that. And that's what we've done.
Why would Terra do that for 20%? What's in it for them? I mean, is the hope of earning more?
Well, remember, this is a new listing. Okay, this is a brand new listing that's being planned on the ASX. So, if they're successful, they obviously, it makes news for them. They can raise, allows them to do other things that they want to do as they grow as a company. They're also involved in what could be one of the premier projects in the Athabasca Basin, one of the best discoveries. They become a co-funding joint venture partner at 20%. That's pretty significant on a Cigar Lake deposit, if you think about it. There's a lot of money on the table there. So it's good for them. It's attractive. We also will own a big chunk of that company when it comes out, freshly listed, clean. Okay, so we're just kind of moving interest from that project into the company, and its success will ultimately provide CanAlaska shareholders with success. So, it's a pretty good scenario.
Who are they?
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
The other conversations we had going on, they wanted a majority and path to 100%, and we're not willing to do that. We said no. We will do it ourselves, or we'll find a different path that gets us that next stage of understanding of the mineralization, and that's what we've done.
Okay, and again, I just with all of these, when any commodity becomes fashionable, and uranium definitely is becoming fashionable, again, you see the rise of new companies using uranium in the title to actually go and raise capital for other things. Is this just a little bit of that, or is this team actually, what have they done in the uranium space before?
That's forming up as we speak, Matthew. So let me just back up. The team that we're working with out of Melbourne, okay, we actually have business dealings with for about 3 years now. So we've got a really good relationship there. We've been trying to bring them into the uranium space for a few years. The timing wasn't right, understandably. Now the timing's right. They can raise the money. I've met a number of their, what's called seed investors or investors that tie themselves in with them. I've met them 3 years ago. They like the uranium space. The timing just wasn't right. So I have confidence that's going to come along. We're building out the board right now of this company, Terra Uranium. And I don't think it's public yet, so I won't share it, but I'm going to tell you it's a strong board. I know most of these players. They've been in the uranium game for a long time. So it's forming up to be a really special entity, essentially the second Athabasca-focused uranium company listed on the ASX behind 92 Energy. And we've seen the success of 92 Energy in the last, year or so. Okay, so there's a lot of appetite on the ASX to have an Athabasca-focused, clean listing that has good assets. And we've brought the assets along for an interest in the company. And we're going to run those assets for them, which gives us some benefits and feedback to our shareholders in terms of, operating fees and cash payments and ownership of the company. So it's a pretty good arrangement. These players are serious. And I have every confidence they're going to do what they say they're going to do, and they're going to stick with it.
So the uranium.
Again, we're very, as I said before, we're very cautious with who we work with, because we don't want it to be a fly-by-night operation. We don't want it to be a flavor of the day. It's people. Surround yourself with good people and good teams, and you'll do something special.
Well, the reason I'm glad you said that. The reason I ask is, like, you know, I've been approached by various groups. Singapore group, 500 million, give me a uranium project. London-based group, 50 million, get me a uranium project. Didn't care what, just as long as uranium was in the heading, right? Because they know they can go to work with that. And that's what I say. You know, for you as a prospect generator, if you get into that trap, it's only going to go one way. It's going to get really, really messy, and your shareholders aren't going to appreciate it. So, okay, so something's happening there. Timing on when you're going to be able to tell us more on that?
So they're planning on lodging this week with the ASX. So I expect that to start becoming a little bit more public in the next number of weeks. So watch for that news to come out, or for that sort of framework to come visible to the market. I will just say I know a number of these players. They're heavy hitters in the uranium space over multiple decades. Okay, you know, back in the time with Cameco, I met most of these players in the last cycle. I was, you know, looking at all these projects around the world, and these names are coming out again, and they're serious people. They understand the space. They want to do something special. They recognize the opportunity that we've presented to Terra, and they want to get involved. And that's pretty exciting. That's really exciting for CanAlaska and the shareholders, because this is a serious team that's going to go do its thing, and they're going to grow, and they're going to stick with it.
Okay, polymetallic, lovely. Nickel, lovely. Copper. We talked about copper last time, right? With Quesnel. Am I
in
massacring that name?
Yes.
Am I massacring that name properly?
Quesnel.
Quesnel
Trough. Yeah, our partners on Manipur there.
Okay, got it. What's happening?
Not much. You know, they went through their drilling in Q1. They hit copper, but they think they're on the fringes of the system. Just, you know, they definitely hit the margins of the system. They got some low grade copper. We're just in the process of forming up that joint venture now. We've lodged some of the filings we had to do for assessment and whatnot. So that will continue to move forward. I don't know what their plans are per se, because we've not yet officially formed that joint venture, but I'm sure once we do, they're gonna share what their view is on how to move that forward. So no new news on that one at this point.
Okay, low grade copper, right? Mm-hmm. Fine. You've been dying to tell me about your new team. You mentioned it at least 3 times. Go on then. Come on then. Who have you brought on board?
Oh, this, you know, part of what we need to do to get into this next cycle, Matthew, is build out the core of the CanAlaska team. And, you know, we dismantled it post-Fukushima, had to, obviously, kept it small. I wasn't even part of that. I've come along now and working closely with Peter and the board of CanAlaska, we've decided to rebuild the core of the team. And I've had the great pleasure of bringing in someone I know very well out of Cameco. His name's Nathan Bridge. He actually drilled the first 2 holes at 42 zone for Cameco back in, you know, about 5 years ago or so now. He worked very closely at delineation of the Fox Lake deposit, just 2 kilometers away from 42 zone. He understands what we have at West McArthur. He knows it. He's worked at Millennium, Cameco's Millennium deposit. He's done definition drilling at Cigar Lake. He's been at Eagle Point, where the image behind me is from Eagle Point. He understands our portfolio. He understands what we need to do to make these discoveries. And he left Cameco on his own accord to join us. And in large part, it's the trust that I have with him. You know, I've known him for 11 years. A very talented young geoscientist with Cameco back in the day. And he's chosen to come and join us because I believe it's in part the relationship, but in large part also the land position that we hold in Eastern Athabasca, the discovery potential to be part of a team, a small team, a little wolf pack, if you want to call it, that's out there to make discoveries. So he's a critical piece for us. Dr. Carl Schiemann is still there. He stepped aside from the VP role to bring in Nathan Bridge in this role specifically. And Carl knows Nathan as well from the joint venture dealings at West McArthur. So really a great addition to this team. So I've been working very closely with him to build out the rest of the team in the last couple of months since he joined us. We brought on Greg Goodmanson. I know him very well. I went to university with him. He's my vintage, great friends. More importantly, he spent 16 years with Orano. So we've pulled in Cameco people. We've pulled in an Orano person. We've built out some younger geoscientists. They're incredibly talented, and are going to be running projects within 18 months. I mean, these are really, really great young geoscientists, and we're going to need more, but we can now, with the core built, we can start to flex where we need to deliver on the mandates that we have within our portfolio, whether joint ventures, CanAlaska only, or even in the nickel space.
Okay, and obviously, I guess a few people stepping to one side. So this is you're refreshing the team. We're
rebuilding the team, Matthew. Yes, refreshing. Yep, fair, but we're not wholesale refreshing, and that's what I love about what we've done here, because Peter Dazzler is still president. Okay, Dr. Carl Scheeman is still a senior advisor, so he's helping Nathan, and the team move forward. Also, he's still on the board. But Peter, just having in the background with myself in particular, and being able to move this company forward as part of a transition as we move into this new era, has been really special. I mean, we have a great relationship. We've had a great relationship for years, ever since we sat across the table from each other to do deals. It's quite unique, and I'm really happy to still have him involved. I don't like to see wholesale management changes in companies. I like to see transitions. I think it provides a lot of value to shareholders, and should provide a lot of comfort to shareholders that followed Peter, for instance, to move forward with myself now. So we've been busy changing the team, rebuilding the team, and even at the board level, brought in a few individuals now in the last number of months to fill attrition, just people moving on to other things. One of our board members had to go join the Biden administration. Okay.
Who's that?
Kathleen Kennedy Townsend.
Oh, yeah.
She had to pull aside because she's joining the Biden administration, which was a great contact for us. She'll always be there for us. We've added in a new director, Jeff Gay, who's part of the Athabasca group of companies here. So development opportunities in the north, and he understands the north where we're operating. Brings a lot of value in there in terms of insights. Miss Karen Lloyd, I know her very, very long time at Cameco. She's in Cameco marketing. She understands the uranium space. We're good friends. She gets it. She's moved on. She's working with an aviation company, but she has all that knowledge in the banking and marketing side of the equation. And then Shane Shercliffe as an advisor and maybe an eventual board member. I worked with him in Australia on the Kintyre deal. I've known him a long time. We've done special things, and he's been part of billion-dollar deals out there. So the team, all of CanAlaska, the team is changing and getting geared for what we see in front of us, which is an incredible cycle.
It is going to be an incredible cycle. It's going to be hard to do wrong in the uranium cycle that's coming, it seems, if all this social media is to be believed. However, there's a lot of new people. You walked into a prospect generator with a certain philosophy. You're your own guy. You're in charge of the helm. I get that some of the old hands are still there, but that philosophy surely has got to change in this new cycle we're about to go into for uranium, to take the best advantage or take advantage of the situation. It's great being survival mode as a prospect generator when times are hard. For the last decade, something's got to change, hasn't it?
Yes and no. I mean, I like steady as you go, be yourself. In fact, there's a quote today circulating through LinkedIn, and it's from Will Smith. Okay. And I love it. It's, don't chase people, be yourself. Do your own thing and work hard. The right people, the ones who really belong in your life, will come to you and stay.
That's lovely. That's lovely. But that I'm talking about, that's you, right? The previous management team had a philosophy which was basically, quite rightly, hunker down, don't spend too much money, it'll come good at some point, right? You, younger team, hopefully a little bit more ambitious enough to take advantage of the new cycle we're going to go through. You're going to change. So the yes and no bit. So what was the yes bit? Because your shareholders want to hear a growth story, right? And they've not had that for 10 years. So what's the growth story? Absolutely.
So the growth story is we're going to continue to project generate, but more importantly, we're going to ramp up operations in 2022. going to be results driven, results focused. But we've got right now 3 projects in our portfolio that are core to us that have discoveries. 2 of them are fairly new, one very new. And the other one has been sitting and waiting since post-Fukushima. And we're looking for the right partnership there to move forward and or do it ourselves if it fits. But right now we've got essentially three discoveries in our portfolio that are ready for this cycle to move forward. And that's what we're doing. So building out this team is a change. Bringing in outside partnerships like Terra Uranium or others in the nickel space. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of conversations happening in our uranium space that'll probably see more deals coming. So, that's what we're doing. We're gearing up for this. We're going to move things forward. If the results dictate it, we're going to add money to those budgets. We're going to move them forward. But again, not just to drill holes. We're going to really focus on finding that body of the tiger, okay? That tiger by the tail is what we believe we have at 42 zone, okay? Now we're focusing in on where that body of the mineralization might be. This is the process Cameco went through at Fox Lake. They spent 3, 4, even 5 years fooling around at one end, trying to figure out the geology. And then they got that first 100 GT into the Fox Lake deposit. That's what we're looking for. That's what we think we're getting close to now because we're seeing it in the results. And if that continues, then we're going to pick up pace. And part of building this team out, this young team around us with all that experience, is to take advantage of that type of situation so that we're ready to move, that we are moving. So, I think it's pretty exciting. And we're going to continue to do deals. We picked up another piece of land here down around Key Lake. It's 15 kilometers away from the Key Lake mill. The Key Lake deposits, 150 million pounds of uranium produced at the Key Lake deposits. We have that fault for 10 kilometers strike length on our project, our new project portfolio, that key extension project that we announced a number of weeks ago and just closed last week, actually. Incredible story forming there. And the new team I brought in, they're frothing at the mouth. They want to get on that project because in the Athabasca Basin, in Eastern Athabasca, you do not get an opportunity to pick up one of the premier fault zones historically. Has produced 150 million pounds of uranium just 15 kilometers away. You do not get the opportunity to pick that up very often. And we were successful at doing that and at a really reasonable price, just ahead of the last bump a month ago. So we're really excited about where our portfolio has grown to and where we continue to add to take advantage of the money coming in from outside parties. There's an appetite for land in the Athabasca right now, and it's all been staked in the last month. I'm going to be honest with you. There's not much out there that we would pick up. And the projects we did pick up, we added 100,000 hectares in the last month, roughly, in the Athabasca, but we were very strategic. It had to have a story. It had to make sense to our team. It's not necessarily that we're going to put our money there. This is for future deals, to bring money into CanAlaska, to bring opportunities into CanAlaska, to go focus on these mineralized deposits or trends that we have in our portfolio right now. It's an exciting 12 months in front of us.
Fantastic. Okay, let me say this to you. You say you've effectively got 3 discoveries. You've got a big portfolio. You've staked a bit more land, but you're sub 50 million market cap. You're getting the project generator discount, right? That's why I'm asking, now is the time, it seems, to look at the business plan and the strategy and say, do you know what? I think we need to just have a little step change here because we're not getting the proper value which should be attributed to us because the project generator discount. And I think that given what we're seeing is going to happen in uranium and even with your nickel uranium, your polymetallic project, I think we can take advantage of this and just do it a different way because the feeling, the sentiment, rightly or wrongly, is that as a prospect generator, you're going to give all the upside away. You're going to get diluted away. You're always going to be having to raise money, kind of keep up with your JV partners. That's the perception of project generators. And I think, can you change, or do you want to change enough to say, I can capture more of the upside by just doing things a different way with my new team? Can you sort of share that kind of forward thinking? It's great. You're excited about the next 12 months, but how do you do more for the shareholders?
Well, we in all our deals, we backstop it with royalties. Okay, so if there's success, you've got a good royalty on the back end, and that's sort of almost a non-starter for us. We also retain percentages in there where possible, so that, let's say you discover a Cigar Lake and you own 20%, you can go raise to continue that on. So very much reverse of what we're doing at West McArthur with Cameco. We'll have the optionality of diluting or funding. It's an optionality, but it's backstopped by a royalty or some other mechanism. So that's always in our deals. Beyond that, we are ramping up, planning to ramp up in 2022, okay, to take advantage of a good market. If we can drill that 100 GT hole at West McArthur, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. If we can drill that 100 GT hole at Waterbury South, where we believe we're on the fringe of that system, that's a game changer for CanAlaska. And, in both cases, we're majority owners. In the case of West McArthur, it's 75%. In the case of Waterbury South, right now it's 100%. Like I said, we may do that ourselves if the deal doesn't go through, or the deal at present will allow us to retain full control at 80% moving forward. Okay, so in either case, we'll have control of Waterbury South. It's irrelevant. And the team is excited about Waterbury South. They're excited about West McArthur. Cree East, we'll ramp that up when the time's right. We're not under any assessment crunch there at all. We can sit and wait for the right partnership and money to come in. Or if the timing's right, we'll do it ourselves. We have no problem doing that. But we own 100%. We can share. We're good.